Ladies and gentlemen, when I wrote this book 4 years ago, the world, including Europe, Britain, Germany, looked completely different. Different from what we heard just now. I then asked Chancellor Schröder to present the book in Berlin, and he did in 2005. This was by no means self-evident. I was not at all sure whether he would approve of the main proposition of this book. What David Marquand calls the decline of the public, or the neoliberal revolution, and what I call the wave of market radicalism, was still very strong, prevailing in most of the media, in Britain just as in Germany. Reform was what fitted this hegemonial ideology, something completely different from what we called reform in the Brandt government. The state was regarded as an obstacle to market dynamism, an obstacle more or less necessary, perhaps even indispensable, but at any rate too big, too strong, too fat. By cutting taxes, the state should get slimmer. And those states, especially in the south of our globe, which had already been very slim, were doomed to become consumptive. The wave of marketization is, at least in the long run, bound to abolish the state's monopoly on force and replace it by a chaotic market of weapons and of mercenary violence. The state's monopoly on force is and remains an achievement of modern civilization, which must not be thrown away, even though this monopoly of force has been converted in the 20th century in Europe, first of all in Germany, into a monopoly of murder. Today, in February 2009, we all know that market radicalism, marketization of the public domain is not even good for the markets. In 2005, we did not know this. But what we did know was that it was not good for society. And I think that even Margaret Thatcher admitted this by her famous statement that there was no such thing as society. Only if you believe that there is no such thing as society, that there are only individuals and markets, the neoliberal revolution makes sense. Ladies and gentlemen, my book reaches 4 conclusions. First, the main danger during the 20th century was the state that became too powerful or even totalitarian, the state that treated its citizens as tools, as means to an end. When I was a boy of 16, I experienced what this means. The danger of the 21st century is the weak the weakened, the helpless state, the blackmailed state, blackmailed by globally active capital, unable to maintain its monopoly on force, and finally, the failing and the failed state. And I might add, security of the world is threatened today more by failing and failed states than by wars between armed states. Second, the constitutional democratic state founded and based on the rule of law, that's what we call Rechtsstaat in German. It's very difficult to translate. This state is an achievement of European and North American history, an achievement worth being defended. It is the only method to subject any kind of violence and of force, even its own force, to the rule of law. There is no other method yet invented in this world. Third conclusion, every constitutional democratic state founded on the rule of law lives on the loyalty and the support of its citizens. It cannot do without it. This loyalty can only be maintained if the state feels responsible for its citizens, especially in case of sickness, old age, unemployment. This means that the democratic state founded on the rule of law is only viable in the 21st century as a welfare state. We can, of course, discuss what this means in detail, but we cannot discuss whether it's necessary or not. 4, state does not mean national state. It includes regional and local government, and it includes, above all, the European Union. The democratic state, as a result of European history, cannot survive as a purely national state. In an age of globalization, it will have to transfer power to local and regional democracy on one side, and even more so to the European Union and sometimes even to the United Nations. 3 years ago, it might have been rather difficult to draw attention to such an essay in Britain or in the United States. So I hope that this book will contribute to a European discussion about what Jacques Delors called the European model. Thank you so much.